Well, I guess we started already. That's good.
All right, I'm gonna
Oh,
give you the countdown now.
oh, okay.
Oh, you were about to start. I'm sorry.
I was about to start because I was ready.
All right, well, here's your countdown. Five, two, three, four, one.
Oh, that's a good way to start. Oh my goodness. Hello, Carter. How are you? It's good to see you. I'm your father. Um, um, I'm Glenn Fox. That's Carter Fox. We thought we might start this type of a podcast because of our unique situations, and we thought that having a conversation every so often, maybe every week or so, if we can get this going well and we get enough interest, we'll have a discussion. I am a practicing attorney. I've been an attorney for 40 plus years. Carter, I don't know what he does at this point. Yes, I do. Carter is a musician, and he'll obviously talk a lot about that and his touring. He's also a business person working in the music industry, in marketing management. I don't know. I think sweeping the floors at the venues when necessary, and going through. But he is from a father's point of view, an A1 bass player, if you will, playing in the, I don't know, R&B genre, chill music genre, smooth jazz genre, whatever he can get his hands on genre of music. Um, that he can play. So Carter, it's good to see you.
It's great to see
Nice,
you, Dad. It's great
yeah.
to see you.
And I think some of this is just talking about, um, how we interact, if you will, father and son. We'll occasionally bring in Carter's brother, my other son, who also works in the, I'll call it the news industry, if you will. He's a news reporter, a broadcast journalist. We'll bring him in from time to time, for comic relief, if you will. Not really, but we'll try to get him here sometimes to talk about different things that he's working on, and just keep it going. So, Carter, you had an interesting week this week, I guess, if you want to. Well, the one thing I said to Carter, and we're broadcasting this on a Thursday afternoon, we were going to start at one time. I had a delay because the Phillies were playing, and it was the bottom of the eighth inning, and it was a couple minutes before we were supposed to start. So I had Carter's mother um, send him a text to say, she's got me busy, and what I was busy doing was watching the Phillies game, as they were coming back and from a tie game and taking the lead and ultimately winning the game. So, sorry, Carter, that I'm late that way, but there we go.
That actually makes perfect sense. I kept forgetting because I guess what yesterday was rained out. Is today was the
Yeah,
doubleheader they're doing? Not to time
correct.
stamp ourselves. But yeah, I was like, oh, okay, no problem. I'm getting coffee. I was just out. I was at a different workspace today working on different projects and came home and I was like, Dad, that's you I'm here, let's do it. And he's like, hold on, hold on. I'm like, okay, but hey, I love him. This is how we interact. This is just what it is when you are doing what you can. And you know what, Dad? You're allowed to take the time to enjoy that kind of thing, I
There
think.
you go.
After all the crap I've given you for 30 years, like let's go, As soon as I
It's
could
only
talk.
been 30, it's been longer than 30, but that's okay. We won't tell anybody.
Oh, I'm in the
Um,
entertainment business. What are we doing? You're gonna what are you doing? No, it's 34 years. 34.
there you go. So you want to talk a little bit about your weekend experience, because I think that's noteworthy, if you will, if you're talking about any entertainment business.
Oh yeah, so for Memorial Day, I guess, right? We had this past week. I
Mhm.
was down playing with the legendary Regina Belle in Virginia. I was down in Virginia, down out near Charlottesville area. So from at least where I am in Philly, it was a good five hours or so away from the home base. But it's such a great and legendary feeling, not for me, but it's such a great feeling to play with such a legendary person who this is now, it's been a couple times playing with her in the same room and at these shows, and it's still such a overwhelming feeling of like, wow, this is what we get to do. And on top of that, we had Chris Walker, who's an amazing artist, right? Musician, but specifically a bass player as well, and was her bass player. And really, it's funny because all the charts that I was learning, all the music, all the scores, literally had his name on it because he wrote them. He was her music director for many years, and he's gone on to do a lot of cool stuff. And now he is the lead singer of Maze. And it was really cool because we got to play a Maze song. It was really cool for many layers because we're already Regina Bell's band, right? Like we're already playing with a person who has 4 Grammys and tons of hits as well. And it's already awesome because we already played with Freddie Jackson, which is another person with a dozen hits and doing all his kind of stuff. Uh, and then Chris Walker comes in and who the man who organized the score, they do the duets of A Whole New World, the iconic song that she does from Aladdin. And we got to do Maze, and we even got to do a song that the band, our band, Shaitan, uh, put out there before. So it was just like an all around really cool weekend. It was on a farm, hundreds of acres, thousands of acres. It was really, really cool. There was no cell service, though. That was the main thing. There was no internet, no reception. I guess there could have been Wi-Fi, but I couldn't send you guys anything. I remember the next day I was like, oh, here. Or the night when we were driving back, I was like, sorry, I couldn't text you anything, but here's everything. So,
Sure. So a parent's nightmare, not knowing, well, we don't know that all the time, but a lot of times we'll get a text, a picture, an Instagram post or something that you see. Oh yeah, here I have it, and nothing. So Carter fell off the face of the earth for a couple of days for us. And for I just want you to know that you were like, is he still living? I mean, what are we doing here? Um,
you
and
just
so I
change a habit a little bit. You change a
yeah,
habit of social posting
and
a little bit.
when I was growing up and it was like, okay, you got to check in, you got to. I never knew what that was or what. No, I'm fine. I'll tell you when I get. Now that I have adult kids, adult children, and even when I had younger children and teenagers, um, it's like, okay, where are you? You wonder why you've got that homing device in you, or why you want that homing device in you. But that continues on, and that's fine. I think it was crazy. Hey, let me tell you my week a little bit. Again, a couple things that happened this week so that you know. Um, and that dovetailed into that story you just told and that I just told about you not being able to get in contact with us and not being with us. So this morning I'm in bed, I'm sleeping, it's 3:15, and all of a sudden the house phone rings. Now, yeah, exactly. Exactly.
What?
Exactly. So the house phone rings. It's 3:50. I look at my clock. First of all, it's 3:15 and you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you're like, "Ugh."
I'm pushing the clock radio to turn the alarm off. It's the phone. I have a phone next to my bed. Trying to pick it up and trying to figure out what it was and it announces who's calling and it says, call from Los Angeles. So I'm going, did I just win the Price is Right? I mean, I don't know what's going
Yeah.
on at this point. So by the time I get my wits and figure out where the phone is and pick it up, it's already gone into voicemail. And I said, well, okay, if it's coming from Los Angeles, it's none of my kids because you're not in Los Angeles at this point that I knew of. Brent's not in Los Angeles as far as I know at this point. And so I said, okay, fine, it's going into voicemail. So of course I get up, and what I would want to do at 3:15 in the morning, the first thing I do is I get up. Some people say they check their phones. No, I go to the bathroom. Um, Sorry, but little things take precedence, if you will.
I
I
feel like
go
that's
in.
a generational difference. Like a
That's a
younger person
generational.
is like, oh, the phone while peeing themselves, and then you're like, you actually do
Yeah,
it the logical thing.
yeah. Well, I get yelled at if I don't do it in that order. Anyway,
Blame it on the dogs. Just blame it on
yeah,
the
blame it on
phone.
the dog. Yeah, right, exactly. Um, so anyway, I come back, I pick up the phone, I said, "Oh, we have a message waiting," and I go to the message waiting. It was some tax service wanting me to call back at 3:15 in the morning. I guess 12:15 LA time.
In the
Uh,
morning, LA time.
in
Still,
LA
still the
time, yeah.
morning.
Yeah,
Someone auto
morning.
robot called the wrong, put the
Yeah.
AM instead of PM is what they
Yeah,
did.
yeah, either that or they, it was from a 213 area code as opposed to a Philadelphia 215 area code. So I said that could have been that too. I said whatever it was. So of course it only took me an hour and a half to have my heart stop racing and be able to get back to bed. But other than that, it was fine. So that was the morning call. Um, so I'm off the last couple of days, I guess this week from Memorial Day forward. And so your mother and I had some errands today, and we stopped at a restaurant where we haven't been to in a long time, Anthony's Coal Fire Pizza. Now, again, you've been there, you've had it from there, we've gotten pizza from there.
We've
We
really enjoyed it in the past, just to say,
Oh yeah,
let's
absolutely. And we
say,
haven't had it in a long time. One of the they had opened up a second restaurant that was closer to us, and actually they opened it up during COVID, and so we would get deliveries from there all the time. And then all of a sudden we found out that the company that owned Anthony's went bankrupt. I don't know how many months ago, or perhaps it was a year ago. I don't remember. And they were closing down the closer one. And since then, we really haven't gone back to the restaurant for whatever reason. Was it the other restaurant where we had spent, where we would used to go probably maybe every other or every third Saturday we would go there. So we go there again and again. The company had gone through some throes, if you will, and go through that. We walked into the restaurant and it was like had the pizza and it was just like it was before. It was just this memory and the and
and the
chicken
wings.
and the
Oh,
wings. We had those as well, and we're gonna finish it off, with the leftovers for dinner tonight. So
oh, I'm jealous. I think I'm getting Chipotle,
there you go,
maybe,
there you
because
go.
I feasted on all my leftovers.
Yeah. All right. So that was essentially this week, other than the dogs going through that. So your mother has to take Beckett back to one of our dogs back to the vet today because of the discussions that the dogs have with each other at 150 decibels, and when their mouths get close to each other, sometimes things happen. So we have to have something looked at this afternoon for the one of the dogs. But it's always fun.
Can I go back to something that we were talking about a few moments ago though?
Sure.
Not about I'm sorry to hear about with Beckett and everything. And so it happens we have six of these little fun folks here, these Frenchies. They're
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
But they're still bulldogs, so you gotta just
I
even
know.
pugs could be crazy. We know that. Going back to this thing you were mentioning with knowing about the kids where you're at and everything, and
Yeah.
now I'm sure now that's probably not a new feeling. It's probably just gotten more since we're all accessible, right? You want to be able to be in touch more. And what was funny about that is the guys kind of had that chat because we did all have that realization that all of our phones kind of got SOS mode or very low signal. And especially just thinking when we go to leave, right? Like if the GPS doesn't work. But I do, all the guys were talking about, yeah, I make my kids. Some of them have younger kids, 4, 8 years old. Some of the guys in the band have 25, 27-year-old kids too. And it's the same thing. It's like, no, tell me where you're at. Just like send the thing. But the real thing I wanted to mention about that was this memory you made me have from when I was growing up. And I don't know what you're laughing at.
Go ahead. I'm waiting for the story
It's
because
well,
then I'll give you the other side of the story. Go ahead.
wait. Do you know? I don't know. It's not that
No, go
story.
ahead. Tell the story. Tell the
This
story.
is this is a story about just not having been in contact, and this is the one where I was not that old. I was old enough to ride a bike, right? And I was riding it in the neighborhood, and I had a friend who lived on the opposite end of the neighborhood, Kareem.
Hmm.
And, I was just going around and he was out hanging out. And I was like, cool, I'll hang out for a bit. And I was hanging out for a while. I don't know, 30 minutes, an hour. And from our point of view of the naive kids, it's like, cool, I'll go home. And I think this is before cell phones, and I didn't call the house phone to be like, I'm here doing this. I just remember mom pulling up in the car and being like, put the bike in the trunk, get in the car. And it was a thing. And I gotta tell you, I'm one of those people who apparently and I'm thinking about it. How many stories you had me set off just with stuff. I have to learn things the hard way, apparently. Cause yeah, like, you got you gotta let people know. But it's also, as you get older and you have kids and responsibilities, and I don't even have kids. I have cats, and when I don't know where they are in the house, I'm like, where are you? Come, don't do that. So, I know it's a loving thing. I understand, but what story were you thinking I was going to tell? Because that's not a story I probably would have
Oh,
gone
I'm sure that that story that you just told must have repeated itself 300 times, if not 3,000 times, between you and your brother, Brent.
without us knowing, because we know of
Without
a
without
few.
you knowing those things from the other side, where you went somewhere, you did something, you were in the neighborhood, you could have been next door, and we not know it. And it's, oh my gosh, what happened to him? Where is he? Well, where is he? Where did he get to? Is he on the middle? Isn't he in the middle of the busy street directing traffic somewhere or trying to? Um, I'm sure it happened all the time. I'm sure it's not, you're not the first. I'm sure it's on the cell phones. People say they don't want their kids to have cell phones until that happens. Okay. When that happens, they want the cell phone uh, sewn into the kid's body, um, so that they can track them and see where they are. And they have the tracking devices in the phone. And I know, in talking to a lot of people with younger kids that have phones, that tracking device is on all the time, just so that
I
they know where they are and how that all works.
Yeah, and I know
Um,
people with young kids who it's the air tag with something like a bracelet or in a shoe, like something that's also always they don't have a phone or something, but yeah, it's definitely something. And we all know in this day and age, unfortunately, be it the news or just everything else that there's just so much happening,
yeah.
it's safer. You need to
Can
know. And it's
can
just
I
what it is.
can I jump to a story, back to a story that your technology and the materials on that you were talking about, and it just happened before I came down here. I was talking about the delay because I was watching the Phillies game. Well, so in the middle of watching the Phillies game, and again, it was after they have a day-night doubleheader today. It's just the way, because they had a rain out last night. They're playing two today as a result. And I said, great, I get to watch two games today, and hole up, watch the game. Great. So about, I don't know, seventh or eighth inning, I'm watching it, and I'm watching it on a TV that's not hooked into the rest of the house. It's in the here in the living room, um, but it's on a Roku. The Roku device that, or it could be, that device could be another device that it has it, but it's streaming as opposed to a cable company. And I'm just telling the story through that. So I'm watching the game, and they're going through that, and all of a sudden the cable goes out. The Roku goes out, not the cable, but because there is no cable, the Roku goes out, and it says you're not connected to the internet. So I'm going, oh my, oh, okay, all right, let's go. So I first thing I do is, you take the cords, you pull them out, you put them back in. Everything seems to work. It said, okay, you got to reconnect to the internet. Fine, you go to the internet, you go to do it. You've got to put the code in for the internet. You put the code in again for the internet. Connect, doesn't connect. So, of course, after about 15 or 20 minutes of playing that, I'm missing 15 or 20 minutes of the game. Going through this, all of a sudden, your mother walks in, and she says, "What's the matter? What's going on?" So I says, "It's not working. The TV's not working. They're telling me it's not connected to the internet. What's going on?" And so she said, "Well, did you unplug it and replug it?" And I go, "No, I'm not doing that. I want to see it." So of course I don't unplug it and and so I'm going through this, and I'm exasperated, and I'm screaming at the screen, and I'm screaming, and all of a sudden she says, "Here, look, let me do this for you. Let me go over," and it's in the receptacle box with everything plugged in, and it's got a a toggle switch to turn it on and turn it off. I'll just turn it off and leave it off for 30 seconds, see what happens. So she turns it off, comes back 30 seconds later, puts it back on 30 seconds later. Lo and behold, it's all fixed. Okay. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, dummy. Me, not her, me. Says
I know she must have felt so amazing.
she was so
Do
amazing
that
at the
over
time,
here.
and it's
Oh
like,
my
oh my
gosh.
goodness,
To
yeah,
lower that. She came in. You know, my mom knows that trick. She
yeah.
watches the TV. She knows. Brent has explained it to her enough times. So she got it. But that was funny. And it's your stubbornness. You don't want to admit that all you gotta do is do that. I am your son. I've been there. That's
Well,
hilarious.
it was it kicked up again. I said, oh well, okay, I got another Roku downstairs that we're not using. I'll take it. I'll put it upstairs. I'll get it connected to. I said I'll do it later. I know we were doing this today, and I said okay, I'll do it after that. Um, nope. Unplug it, replug it. There you go. Everything's working.
Well, you learned. And they waited for you because you were delayed. They waited and gave you 30 more minutes. They were like, we
And
know
they
he's waiting and
yes,
we'll
we'll stop
wait
the
to
game.
play.
That's what they stopped the game. They waited for
And
me to
that's
get
why
back.
we'll make him late to talk with his son, but it's
Uh,
okay.
that's
We need
okay.
Roku to be first.
Exactly right. I know. I got it. I got it. We got it. We got it going.
Now,
Um,
now, I do want to visit one more story, if you don't
okay.
mind, and then we can.
Yeah, I'm not sure where we are time wise. I didn't. I'm not sure how much
Well,
time we have.
my thing hasn't popped up with a thing to be like,
Okay.
yeah, 5 minutes left. So
Okay. All right.
let's
Good.
just end with the story. The story's
No,
discussion.
we keep going till it pops up because that way you
That's how
can.
we do it here. That's what we do.
Yeah,
We had the time. We let the time happen, you know,
that's it.
and then it happens. But I want to revisit something. 'Cause I think this is probably the story you thought I was
Go
going
ahead.
to
I don't know
bring
what it
up
is. Go ahead.
because we were talking about when you wake up in the middle of the night and you better put your drink away
I
if I'm
better.
going to
I'll be
tell this.
spitting all over the screen. My camera,
So,
everything, all the electronics will go wet. It's
so,
great.
so I just, yeah, electronics getting wet is a great theme here. So, just as a funny story, when I was a child, I had a sleepover with my brother and I. We had friends who you're gonna make me laugh about it. We had friends who we were best friends with. We was a very good family friends. So like just an alternate night, Brent went to their house. My friend Justin came over here, and because Brent had the bigger room and a trundle bed, so the sleepovers were easier in his room. Were like, cool, let's sleep in his room, which was on the opposite side of a hallway of my usual room. So
You have to say that because that's all part of that story. Go
it's
ahead.
important. It comes back later. This is like
Yes,
one of those
yes,
movies where
yes.
everything's important, as it should be. So later in the night, it's been a fun time, and I don't know, it's midnight. I was asleep, and I just had to go to the bathroom. So I do what I always do, and I got up and I turned right when I got out of the door, and I went and I did what I had to do. But the problem is unlike usual when I turn right and I walk like 10 feet and there's the bathroom, I wasn't stopped by anything. I walked like another 50 feet and stopped where I thought was the end of it. And then I just start peeing. I
Did
start
your
peeing
thing. Yeah, did your thing.
and all of a all of a sudden I hear people yelling, like, "What's going on? Stop it!" Mom, mom's like, "What are you doing, Carter?"
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say I ruined the alarm clock that sat next to my father's side of the bed for many years.
So let me tell you the other part, the rest of that story.
Tell me.
So you know.
All I remember is going back to bed. By the way, like being
Oh,
like, "Oh,
I am sure you didn't hear a thing and nobody knew what was
sorry."
what. So I was not in bed. It was not midnight at that point. It was probably closer to 10:30 or so. It was a Saturday night, I believe. I was watching something on TV. Your mother had gone to bed earlier. And she's up and she's in the bed and she's sleeping. And
Was
she
it
and she re,
10:30?
and so I come upstairs when I come upstairs, probably at 11 or 11:30. And she said to me, and I have, and I've had this habit since I was probably, oh my God, 8 or 10 years old to play my radio to put me to sleep. And mom's gotten used to it after 40 some years. Um, you know, but I would play, and it's usually sports talk radio. Used to be just regular talk, but now it's sports talk radio, and listen to it. So as I come up and get ready to go to bed, your mother says, "Don't try to turn on your clock radio because it's not there." Okay. And I said, "What happened?" She said, "You won't believe it." And I said, "Well, try me." And she told me the story of how you came in to the room not realizing what was what, and all of a sudden took a did your business on my clock radio, on my clock radio. Now,
It was 10:30. It's killing me.
it was had to be earlier than what it was, because I wasn't in bed yet. I wasn't even there yet at that point. So it's one of those stories, and you must have been, I don't know, 4 or 5 at the
We
time.
were so young. It was
I
very
mean, I mean, you were potty trained, sort of. You were radio trained, I guess.
I could
Uh,
aim it. I knew where I wanted it to go, where
yeah,
it
well, you
went.
got it. Whatever you did, you got it.
Where it went depended.
Yeah, and hopefully we don't have the same rug, because it's probably all stained in the back as a result. Or
It's
was
literally
all.
two colors, probably. Like, yeah,
Now I think we changed. I think the rug's been changed since then.
I think
Um,
so too. For the record, I
for the
think
record, yeah, the rug's been changed. But that was, and we probably could do an entire episode on toilet jokes and bathroom jokes and that kind of thing. But that's you can't make this stuff up, is one of my great sayings. That's one of them where you had to see it to believe it. And I wish I was there, but I wasn't. Um,
I couldn't
and
imagine if you were there. It was there's like I have there's a memory if in my head of going like just moving just down the hallway. That's it though. There's no recollection. I know I was young and but yeah, it was just I just had to pee. Just had to. Should we censor that? Do I need to censor that later?
I've heard worse on here, so on podcasts. So I don't think there's any requirement to censor.
I think the part that you just broke my brain with though is for all the times I thought about that and we've talked about it, I always thought it was like midnight, 1 a.m. to, and maybe that's because I'm older now, and that's like when I would equivocate being asleep and that
Yeah.
being in that much sleep. For
Yes.
it to be 10:30, I must, I'd be, I I definitely was up all night the night before now, but like that's
Well,
over,
yeah.
you know.
It had to be early because or earlier because I was not in. I was not. If I don't know what I would have done, or how I would have felt if I was in bed next to me peeing on my clock radio. Um,
I'm
you
sorry for
know,
my laughter, but it's got 10 minutes left, so
I just saw that.
we
Um,
got as much time as we want within 9 minutes and 50 seconds. That's
yeah, but I just the next day I don't think I stopped laughing for a long time when your mother told me the story. And you were at it's those kind of things and those kind of memories that you know stay at the forefront as you get older and say, yeah, I remember when I did this when I was a little, but it'll stay in my mind probably longer. Um,
you probably have a much like the more vividness of
yeah.
existing because this is something I always think about, especially now, and we can kind of take this as we want to. But like like we were saying, I'm 34, right? I said that. So now I'm older than you were when you had me. No,
Just
I'm
about the
almost
same
as
age.
I'm
No.
about the same age. I'm a little younger, I think. Actually,
Yeah.
I'm thinking mom. I think I'm older than
Yeah.
mom was,
Yeah.
and you're just a
A
hair
little
older
old.
than mom.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, so like yeah, now that boom, like if my something did something that insane, my child, I I would be telling everybody if when he meets the right kind of people, be like, "Oh, Mr. Freddie Jackson, you know my boy Pete on a car
Yeah, yeah,
when he
yeah.
was a
That's it.
child, and now he's playing bass for you." And then I'm like, "Well, don't. I'm not going to get to play anymore if that's how people." Well, I guess maybe that's the respect you have for me.
That's the first thing would tell to any of your dates that would come. You want to know what he did when he was 5 years old?
I mean,
Um,
it took a lot to get them to come over to the house first, so I know that, like, if they had a very strong wall at that point if they were coming over, so
yeah.
maybe that would, it only scared a couple off. It only scared a few of them off though.
But yeah, but that's the kind of thing where okay, you bring it up. I'm not bringing it up. I'm not going to do
Now,
that.
that was the one you thought I was going to go into first.
Yeah, probably. I
Yeah.
think so.
Well, the one when you started laughing, but I was like, that you laughing is why I remembered it because I was honestly just thinking of that one, and I'll tell you another story of this, and maybe there's a your side of this too about like the being in connection with your kids when they're out and about. And
hmm
this is something Brent and I actually talk about because we were older. Brent was in college, and we might have talked about this even more recently at even like a family dinner. But Brent was at college, and I was a senior in high school, or maybe even in college too at this point. So we were a little older. Definitely was driving, and we were again. It was the same friend, the same family friends, right? We were at their house, which is not far, and it was Saturday night, Friday night, something on the weekend, nothing going on, nothing even crazy going on, really just hanging out in a summer. And it got a little later, and we even let Ma know we were going to be home a little later. But we stayed till maybe like 12:31, and we also dropped another friend who was there off at their house on the way home, who just lived just right nearby. And we got Brent and I were in the car. We are like, cool, go home, we'll hang, whatever, grab a snack, watch some cartoons, go to sleep. But mom was still waiting up for us to make sure we were okay and everything, and was like, why'd you, thought it was, why would you do that? And we're like, well, we thought we let you know, but honestly, like again, being older, being what's going on in things, and especially in that kind of environment, like you still can worry. So I can get why mom kind of did that, but it's also like, hey, it's Brent. I get
Yeah,
me, but
yeah.
Brent is fine. Like we're going to be. If it was just me, I get it. I peed on a clock, so it's gonna, it's a very low bar of checking on, you know. I've done some things, as I'm sure the listeners will eventually find more out, because
We're waiting for this. We're gonna get the sports stories out too.
I was saving those. I wasn't even
Okay.
thinking, but they're there.
We only have 5 minutes, so we're not getting those out
Not
today.
gonna go there yet, but they're coming, everybody. They'll
Yeah, yeah,
come because
yeah.
they're there.
They're
Even
there.
even the music stuff and like getting there's the happy side and the stressful side, right? Like, the fun of doing it. But you guys also know, when you saw me, and I was like, I'm nervous. I'm working real hard and I'm anxious about this stuff. And that's the real side of it too.
Well,
So
yeah, well, and that's all part and parcel of this. That's part of the reason for doing this is that, you're playing um professionally, you're playing bass professionally with pretty big name people that go through that. And if you're not playing with them directly, you're playing with other you're knowing and playing with other people who are playing with big people, and you go through some of that. So it's a pretty, you know, you don't like the name drop, but there's a lot of name drops that can be done. I'm not a name dropper. You're not a name dropper, really, but you can go through
only
those.
when it benefits me.
There you
Only if it
go.
benefits me
Uh,
personally. Will I
that
name drop incredibly?
but the idea is it's also stressful because while the game is really you're supposed to be in competition with no one but yourself, you're in competition with others as a practical matter. We all are,
In
um,
in everything. And
in
that's
everything.
it's a very universal feeling of that nervousness and anxiety when you're preparing for something and you care about something. It's like a lot, I that's what I also tell myself. It's like it just means you care still. Like,
Yeah,
because if you didn't care, you wouldn't be. stressing over it and you wouldn't be preparing, and it's something you should be embracing. I know
Yes.
it's challenging, and that's what I always try to tell myself. And it's really a mentality thing too, because you could tell yourself, "This is tough. This sucks. This is stressful. I'm going crazy." And yeah, it's going to happen sometimes. But it's also telling yourself, "I'm going to climb. I'm going to climb it. I'm just going to take it that step at a time, and kill it, and prepare. And that preparation is key thing, kind of thing. And even when the set changes a few days before, and you're like, huh." I practice, or I'm like I'm playing right at the show at sound check with Chris, and I'm playing this Maze song, and I'm killing it exactly as the wax, as they say. And then he looks at me and he just goes, "Hey man, can you play that low string? He didn't have that five. The bass player didn't have the five when he recorded it, but you got it." And I was just like, "Oh my God." Thank God he didn't say like, "Hey, do this like very specific, difficult timing thing that you're now too nervous to get right, and you didn't prepare." And I was like, I would have teetered, but it was very cool. And like I said earlier, he's the bass guy. I mean, he does everything. Like he went up to the our my pianist Steve and was like, "Play it like this and could do it." I'm like, man, I gotta learn piano. I gotta sit down more and do more. And that's just something I'm just trying to keep building, keep happy. So we got a second left, so I'm gonna roll it to you for this here.
All right. Well, we got just a couple seconds left, so I think it was a good conversation. Hopefully, people will enjoy it and hear it and ask for it, or there's other things they may want to ask us about. They may want to give us questions if we want to go through that if we can. And we're gonna as we do this, others that we know we may bring in. As I said, Brent will be one person we'll definitely bring in. There are others who we've had some conversations with, who will be joining us from time to time and coming in from time to time, tell us a little bit about what they do and their daily life, which I think is something that's really interesting as you go through this. It's what these podcasts are really about and really for, hopefully, and to be entertaining and entertain people as they go through this and see that life is what it is, and how it moves forward. So, Carter, good seeing you. We'll be talking to you soon again. Obviously, we see each other, not as much as I'd like, but certainly we do see each other, so that's a good thing. We'll bring up more stories and really dive into some of these things on both sides because we'll move it from the senior to the junior to from the junior to the senior, and we'll move forward as we go through this. So I think we're going to wrap it up and say, we'll see everybody next time.